Diane Lane is a rock singer who's kidnapped in Streets of Fire, a teenage street gang thriller that's one of the new movies we'll be reviewing this week on At the Movies. And joining me here in the balcony is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. In addition to Streets of Fire, we'll also be reviewing three other big summertime movies, including Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Also, Robert De Niro is a Jewish gangster in New York in Once Upon a Time in America. But first, Roger begins with what I think is one of the nice surprises of the summer movie season, Gremlins.
You know, there are three things that everybody should really know about a gremlin. First of all, they don't like bright lights. Secondly, if they get wet, they reproduce like rabbits. And third, you should never, ever feed a gremlin after midnight. And if you stop to think about it, of course, it's always after midnight. And while they were telling me about those three rules at the beginning of Gremlins, I felt a real sense of delight because I knew that all three of those rules were inevitably going to be broken right away, and it was going to be fun to see them broken. That kind of storytelling magic is at the heart of Gremlins, which tells a simple story about a man who, in this scene, visits a mysterious shop in Chinatown to buy a Christmas present for his son.
Well, go ahead, mister. Look around. See if there's something you like.
And, of course, that's about all you're going to see of Gremlins on television. Remember with E.T. how Spielberg only let you see the little finger going around the corner of the woodshed there, and with Gremlins, that's all you see. And, of course, there's another kind of gremlin, too, that has claws instead of furry little paws. That comes later in the movie. I guess it goes without saying that gremlins start out, at least, as cute little beasties. After all, this movie was produced by Steven Spielberg, the man who invented E.T., but gremlins can also be very mean, especially when they're fed after midnight. And this movie is not the same sort of heartwarming, cheerful fable that E.T. was. It has a darker sense of humor. There are some scenes in this movie where it really gets kind of gruesome, especially when that gremlin explodes inside the microwave oven. And although we accept that E.T. is a real, plausible creature, Gremlins, I think, are basically just magical little story gimmicks designed to inspire a lot of action. Gremlins is a wicked and funny movie, sort of a satire on all those grade B thrillers about monsters that attack small towns. And from that point of view, I liked it. I liked the fact that they were trying to do something more than just make another cute little animal movie.
Yes, I liked it, too. Maybe I have a little sick sense of humor. Maybe. I know I do.
I do, too, right.
Okay, and I like that part of it. It's not a namby-pamby little film, and parents should know that. But I enjoyed it because it really is walking between two kinds of pictures, and I think it pulls it off. It's walking between the sweet little innocent Christmas fable, and it's also a flat-out horror film with the bad gremlins who going to devour that town that little boy lives in. And I thought the director, Joe Dante, really did a nice job moving between those two kinds of stories, so I bought the whole thing.
I'll tell you what, in a way, this is a haunted movie, and what it is haunting is the whole tradition of Norman Rockwell Christmas American Hollywood movies.
Right.
The first shot in the movie practically is that town that's obviously an artificial, you know, all the little lights glimmering just like at the beginning of a Disney picture, and before long, everything that can go wrong on Christmas Eve in this sweet little town is going to go wrong, and the whole place is going to be up for grabs. And that kind of satire was really interesting in this film.
It's like a Norman Rockwell painting, well, only there's blood on the turkey, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's kind of like a Norman Rockwell idyllic town. That's cool they both like it. I mean, I love the first Gremlins. I think that movie's amazing. I mean, heck, I'd even say I like it more than E.T. probably. So, but yeah, I think he's kind of underselling the Gremlins a little. He's like, they're not real characters. Well, I don't really agree with that, but especially Gizmo. I mean, come on. Yeah. So that's interesting that they actually like it. And I've never seen Streets of Fire, so...
Okay, coming up next at the movies, The Search for Mr. Spock.
Bring up bird of prey. Starving torpedoes. Fire them at the sky.
Our next film is Star Trek III, and it's a pretty good sequel. Some neat special effects, but more important, the good old reliable characters are all there. Yes, even Mr. Spock, who died in the last film, but... You know, there's life after death in the movies when your movie's a hit, and Star Trek II was a hit. So, Star Trek III called The Search for Spock. The crew of the Starship Enterprise finds Spock back in their lives when Admiral Kirk walks into Spock's old room, and you hear something that sounds like Spock, but it turns out to be someone else.
Climb the steps, Jim. Climb the steps of Mount Soleil.
Yeah, but that's on the...
Yeah, I also love in The Search for Spock that it's Bones who does that, and him and Spock had never gotten along, really. I mean, they jab at each other, but at the end of the day, they do respect each other, but, yeah, it's a great movie.
Planet of Vulcan, right? So what goes there? Well, what's happened is that Spock has blended his mind into Bones' body because Spock's spirit is still alive. But before Spock is found, the crew must battle the evil Klingons led by a creep named Krug.
Bring up bird of prey. Starving torpedoes. Fire 'em at Scott.
Tough times for that crew. They'll survive. And those special effects, that bird of prey fighter ship looked particularly good, and I thought it looked real good. That's because it was designed by George Lucas's Star Wars special effects team. I enjoyed Star Trek 3, except for one big complaint. Spock does reappear at the end of the film, and that's no surprise. I'm sure I'm not giving anything away to anybody if they call the search for Spock, but they don't find him. Okay. But he's only on the screen for a couple of minutes, and then it's all over. I like Star Trek 3, but I felt cheated at the end when the words came up, "The adventure continues." I guess we're supposed to believe in Star Trek 4. Well, I wanted to see Star Trek 3.5 right there and then.
Well, of course, the adventure always continues, and Spock, in a way, is on screen the whole time because his ideas and his presence and his memory are very important throughout the movie, so I wasn't cheated by the fact we only saw him at the end. I thought this was a good but not a great Star Trek movie. It wasn't as good as the second one.
I agree.
The first one was kind of a low-budget Star Wars. They had all the special effects. The second one returned to the Star Trek tradition, which is, let's make a movie about ideas.
Do you say a low-budget Star Wars? I think its budget was way bigger than Star Wars. It's not as good as Star Wars. I'm sorry, it's not.
And about the nature of humanity and the nature of intelligence.
Right.
This one is kind of a compromise. There's a little bit of that Vulcan philosophy there, and there's also a lot of special effects, including that really good fight in the volcano planet where Kirk takes on the alien commander. So it kind of had a compromise between the first two. It was good, but it wasn't great Star Trek material.
I agree. Absolutely.
Well, okay, that's... Gee, okay, next is the movie. It's a rock and roll fable named Streets of Fire. Our next movie is named Streets of Fire, and those are very mean streets indeed, all down in the gloomy shadows under the elevated tracks of some violent American city that's supposed to be in another time and another place from our own world. And this other world seems to contain rock music from the 80s, clothes from the 50s, and cars from the 40s. All the cops drive Studebakers.
Right.
And the movie stars Diane Lane as a rock singer who, in this scene, is kidnapped by a motorcycle gang. After Lane is kidnapped,
Isn't that a Walter Hill movie? It's one of the few Walter Hill movies I haven't seen. I don't know, it just never looked interesting to me, but...
a rough little band of street fighters decide to go after her, and one of them is the movie's most interesting character, a female Army veteran named McCoy, who is played by Amy Madigan.
Hey, Tom, would you get a load of this little honey? She thinks she owns the place.
I'm just trying to get myself a drink, pal.
Well, maybe you've already had enough, babe.
You gotta be kidding me.
Do I look like I'm kidding? You know, maybe you ought to pay up as well. You've been driving up a cab here all night. We're not real big on credit.
Are you trying to say that I can't pay?
Yeah, let's see the color of your money.
There, happy?
Yeah, but now I don't like your face.
You know, everywhere I go, there's always a... Hey, you got any preferences?
I've always been a tequila man.
That's Michael Paret she's serving the tequila to there. He's Diane Lane's old boyfriend, and together they're going to go and bring her back. They hope so, anyway. At the beginning of Streets of Fire, the movie really does look like a visionary fable from another time and another place, but by the middle of this movie, I realized I'd seen this time and place somewhere before, and it was in another movie by the same director, Walter Hill, whose 1978 film The Warriors also laid a lot of symbolism on top of those street gang images. Streets of Fire would have been a better movie with fewer gang fights and more rock and roll, but it's a tough, stylish movie. The Amy Madigan character really appealed to me, and I give it thumbs up. Close, but thumbs up.
Not close for me, thumbs down. I didn't like it. I got into it in the beginning. I thought it was a good-looking, art-directed film, and I could understand what this director, Walter Hill, is trying to do, which is sort of make a nonverbal movie and proving to us that if you show anything being taken on screen, or taken away from us or any group of people, you're going to want to follow wherever that thing is going. And so we go along on the chase. But they find her. I'm not ruining this because it occurs halfway, maybe two-thirds of the way through, and the back half of this film it's garbage. That's why you didn't like the violence, because there's nothing substantial there. It just leads to...
Not true, because what I said was I don't like the violence as much as I like the rock and roll. I liked it after they caught her, because then at the end you have those 4 black guys who come in who sing backup for her.
That's just at the very end. It leads the major chunk of the back end of this story is a confrontation between, frankly, 2 very uninteresting characters and extremely violent. I felt beaten up at the end of this movie. I didn't like it at the end.
Gee, I felt okay. Coming up next at the movies, Robert De Niro's latest film that would like to be sort of a Jewish godfather.
Our next film is one of the most eagerly awaited adult films of the year, Sergio Leone's gangster epic Once Upon a Time in America, telling the story of a bunch of immigrant Jewish youngsters who grow up in the 1920s to become powerful mobsters influencing the American labor movement. In this scene, we meet for the first time the young adult gangsters, played by Robert De Niro and James Woods. De Niro's character has been in jail for a long time, and here he is released from prison and visits the gang's speakeasy, and he realizes then that his old boyhood gang has really prospered in his absence.
Yeah. Come in. Archie. Oh, you look fantastic. How you doing? Look how big you got. Me? Louis. Oh, God. Coming through. You look like... What do you want? I just get out of prison. Nice guy. Hey, no, get a load of this. Hey, Scott cheating. Yeah, bucket of cup. Yeah. How much it cost us?
Husband up?
Yeah.
A dime, including overhead.
Well, later in the film, their gang starts moving up in the world when they link up with the Mafia and double-cross the Mafia with a machine gun ambush. De Niro's character, however, hasn't been clued in to what's going to happen.
You okay?
How come you didn't tell me?
Being as I can change it. I'd already made the deal with Frankie to get rid of Joe. With a man like Frankie Manoldi, you don't say yes and then say no. I cannot take the chance you change your mind. You
Well,
understand?
you were right. I would have said no.
Frankie Manoldi is as big as they come. He's got the combination in the palm of his hand.
If we're not careful, he can have us in the palm of his hand.
You don't get nowhere alone.
I told you were the guy that said you didn't like bosses. It sounded like a good idea then. It still is.
Let's just think about it, Noodle. They're going to ask us to come in with them. There's a lot in it for us.
Today they ask us to get rid of Joe. Tomorrow they ask me to get rid of you. Is that okay with you? Because it's not okay with me.
Well, overall, this is a very disappointing film, a beautiful, expensive, but routine gangster picture about the rise and fall of some hoodlums that, frankly, we don't care about. It is full of confusing and infuriatingly confusing scenes and characters. At one point, get this, we don't know the identity of 3 guys who are trying to kill Robert De Niro, the lead of this film. And the last hour of this picture, involving criminal activities and the American labor movement and the American trucking industry, those scenes a complete mystery. Now, I've seen the long version of this picture, which is being shown in Europe. I've seen the short version of this picture, which is being shown in the United States, and which I'm reviewing right now. The long version is much better. The short version is pretty much a lot of junk.
I've seen both versions too, and I think we ought to make it clear that the original European version is about 3 hours and 45 minutes long. This movie is about 2 hours and 20 minutes long. They have taken the entire structure, which was a whole beautiful situation of flashbacks and memories and fantasies, chopped out all of that material, put this in chronological order, and the irony is, if they didn't think the other version made any sense, this version is totally off the wall. I'll only give my favorite example. You gave yours. At the end of this picture, De Niro walks into a room he's never been in before in his life,
right.
and at the end of the scene, he walks out through a secret panel in a wall. Now, how did he know that secret door was there?
Yeah.
In the long version, they tell him the secret door is there. This movie has total contempt for its audience.
Okay, I got a bigger one than that.
Okay.
In the long version, we see De Niro as an adult early on, and then we flash back to the little boys. In this version, we start with little boys that are mean little boys that we don't care about. It's important to start De Niro in the beginning of this film because, hey, it's Robert De Niro. We'll pay attention to him, to his story. He's a big actor, a great actor. So this film, 45 minutes before we see De Niro, and who cares at this point?
Who cares about these little kids? The whole framework of the other version of the film.
Yeah, it's totally true. I mean, to be honest, I don't love the 4-hour version, but it's a way better movie. You know, I think Sergio Leone's made much better movies. Other than that, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, obviously. Once Upon a Time in the West. But yeah, the American cut is all chopped up and ruins it. The European cut, I think, is still too long. I mean, it's almost 4 hours long, but way better movie.
Set up a resonance that made everything work. In this one, it's a linear story of people who don't become interesting until about an hour into the film, and about the time they become interesting, it's when it becomes incomprehensible as to what they're doing or why. So that if I were a member of the audience of this film, and I was the other day looking at the second version, I was sitting there saying to myself, what's going on? Who is this person? Who is this person? What does this mean? I was totally baffled, and as far as I'm concerned, this movie has been destroyed. I just hope the longer version eventually gets a chance to be played. And now, let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this program. We both enjoyed.
But yeah, I just thought these some interesting reviews. Sorry, I kind of skipped around a little. I just don't want to show too much footage. I don't know. I guess this is up on YouTube, so I guess the copyright's okay. But I definitely agree with Once Upon a Time in the West. I mean, I think obviously they probably took the movie away from Sergio Leone. They're like Europeans can sit there for 4 hours, but not Americans, and I don't think the movie did that well. And yeah, the shorter cut's just confusing, and it cuts out the heart of the movie. So, but yeah, that's about it. I got a review for the Limey coming up, and check it out. You know, R.I.P. Terrence Stamp. But yeah, I'll see you next time.